After taking a break for a day in a church's basement, I had to make myself leave and get on with the rest of the trail. Out of the cool darkness of the basement and up into the heat of the day. We're trying to walk 9 miles today, or 10 I mean, so it's not that bad, but still. Would rather just stay there and sleep, but that's not really how you get to Katahdin, huh?
Not so starlit, it was maroon.
This spring is further than I want to go, but it's the only water source I'm passing today, so better go to it. I'm taking a break at this shelter that's 4 miles into what I'm doing today. The shelter is at 10 miles though, so still a lot to go. And it's hard because I don't feel like doing anything.
That's crazy. What do you think they're here for?
Is this another bellows?
Your very own bellows.
Smoke, where did you find
I
this?
found it today.
Nice.
Imagine the fires we're going to start now.
It's going to be absolutely incredible.
It was another night of not sleeping too well. I was so tired, but I couldn't get to sleep. And then at 3 o'clock, someone was making noise, so I woke up to that. And this morning, people were being loud again. When I woke up, I was thinking about how when I was telling my extended family I was going to do this, everyone was definitely excited for me. But I could kind of see in some people's faces, they were like, why are you doing this? Why would you walk thousands of miles? That does not seem like fun. And honestly, this morning, I don't remember. It's definitely been a tough section with all the rocks, and the water sources are few and far between, and you have to go really far downhill to get them. Not sleeping well. My stomach is still hurting. Not like my stomach, but like my lower belly. It's hard. So right here I came across a little snake blending in with the leaves. Since it has more of a spade-shaped head, I think it's probably venomous. It's brown. I was thinking earlier how copperheads are usually penny colored, but you can't really be too sure, so I'm just talking, keeping my distance. I'm actually pretty far away, so it's okay, buddy. I'm just going around. Great times here on the AT. I was coming up this hill. I saw water, I saw a creek, so I drank the rest of my water because I'm getting more water. But then, this is what the creek looks like. It's very orange, so definitely some like iron or something in the dirt over here. I'm like, okay, it looks really weird, but the water itself looks okay. But then I come over to the other side of the creek. Someone wrote out a warning, do not drink. So now I'm gonna be without water for the next little bit. Great. One of my scariest moments on trail just happened. There was a flash of lightning, and I'm like, oh man, it's about to rain. Okay, I'll start counting. 1, 2, and on 3, the biggest crash of thunder made me jump. I'm really scared. My plan is just to book it to the shelter. It's about 3 miles away by now. So if I walk fast, I'll get there in an hour. I think taking cover here would not be the best choice, because if I can get to an actual shelter, that's going to be much more beneficial than if I was still staying out here taking my time. Best to just get there and hope none of my friends were closer to whatever got struck by lightning. I never saw another flash of lightning after that first scary one, and the rain wasn't even that bad either. The bad news is that I am absolutely hobbling today at 2 miles an hour because my feet just hurt so bad. If you've ever had a job where you have to stand all day, it's like that. The bottoms of your feet just ache. Also, I don't know why this is still happening, but my pack, I can't figure out a way for it to sit comfortably. I've literally tried every possible adjustment. It's always pulling back on my shoulders, or it's not sitting right on my hips, or it's just uncomfortable in some way. It's not the best day. Since I've been having trouble sleeping lately, one of my friends gave me a gummy that would help me fall asleep, and I took it last night around 8. I did wake up throughout the night, one because I was really hot, and without my sleeping bag I feel exposed. With my sleeping bag I feel sweaty. I'm laying it over me like a blanket, but still never can get comfortable. Also, there was this guy snoring more loudly than anyone I'd ever heard. And I don't know, if I see him again, I'm going to kind of bring it up politely that, I don't know. There's always like some people snore in the shelters, that's just how it is. But this was a pretty extreme case. Other people couldn't sleep. But anyway, I did manage to fall back asleep through all that stuff. And this morning, I slept in till 8. So almost 12 hours of sleep if it wasn't interrupted. No, I probably fell asleep around 9:30. Anyway, way more sleep than usual. I don't feel any of the pain I was feeling yesterday. So now I'm trying to walk quickly. But it's another 17 miles today, so let's do this.
Hike the AT, they said.
This area is flooded because of beavers. Very interesting landscape and an interesting challenge. I just had an experience. I was walking down the trail, saw some people, and they let their dogs come up to me. I don't like when people come up into my personal space that I don't know. And I don't like when dogs I don't know come up into my personal space. The owners of the dog were like, "Oh, you don't have to be scared." And I didn't say anything, but in my head I was like, I'm not scared, I just don't prefer dogs coming up to me. And then as I walked on, the dog was like barking, chasing me down the hill, and the owners were calling after it, but for like, I don't know, what seemed like kind of a long time, it was just chasing me. And I was walking, I was not reacting to it, but I'm getting close to the shelter now, so that's nice. It's definitely been a hard day, not as hard as yesterday, but looking forward to this one because we're staying at the 501 shelter. I don't know why they call it that, nothing else is numbered like that. But anyway, there's a shower there. It's an enclosed cabin with bunks instead of a 3-sided structure where you sleep on the floor. Just seems like it's gonna be a nice place. I remember when I went past the Fontana Hilton, a shelter by Fontana, before the Smokies. That was real nice, and I was like, wow, this is the nicest shelter on the AT. But there's really a whole lot of them that are really nice.
It's a party.
Walking up at all.
Yeah, I didn't.
Was yours push bent to a tree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's just
No, I just mean you know how it burns.
well, I mean,
Till then,
You should give a number for that.
It would be easy to say my first week in Pennsylvania was just average. Another week on the AT. But I think at the end of when I'm done with this thru hike, I'm going to look back and be like, nothing was average. No little piece that made up this huge, beautiful experience was nothing unremarkable. So I gotta really dig deep and focus on what this week was like. As for season, it was actually a pretty cool week. Not as hot as you would expect for the last week in June. The landscape changed a lot though. I guess it didn't change that much from the week before, but you can definitely tell Pennsylvania is very different from Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. First of all, most obviously very rocky, but there were rocks in Maryland and Virginia too. When I was in Duncannon, someone said, this is where it gets bad after this. But when I started hiking, I was like, oh, this isn't actually that bad. And I said that to someone, and they were like, oh no, that's another city that's coming up. It gets bad after that. So I'm like, oh, always one more thing to dread. But I noticed a lot more pine trees. Definitely wildflower season is not as much anymore. It's very peaceful woods. I'm not seeing a lot of other hikers on the trail. There was one rhododendron tunnel I noticed, but not a lot of views. A very different landscape from the rest of the trail so far. The common experience with all of us hikers on trail this week, going through Pennsylvania, I think people really liked and appreciated the church hostel that I stayed at, and then everyone was excited to be at the 501 shelter. And that's always cool when you can kind of when you find a cool spot and you're like, yeah, glad to be here, and your fellow hikers that are there too, you get to share the experience. My favorite part of the week was when we were doing that really flat section and we were like, we can't make it to where we need to go until it's really, really late. Like, we're gonna be walking in the dark so long. There is this hotel, we could, and then when we decided to, that was just the most fun thing. We were walking singing, Hotel, Motel, Holiday Inn. And then the luxury of taking a shower and spending a night in the air conditioning when you weren't expecting to. Love it. Last week I talked about some stomach pains I was having. They went from like my lower abdomen area up to like, it was a sharp pain like where my rib cage is, and at one point my chest felt tight, but I didn't figure out what the problem was. I tested a few things but it didn't go away, and it didn't go away by itself obviously, so I am going to keep working on trying to figure out my stomach issues next week. I can't think of any like life lessons that I learned this week, but I did learn something very useful. If you have a cook set, when I'm packing it up, my fuel canister goes inside my pot. If I have a napkin, I put it right here so that the metal isn't on the metal. If the pot's a little dirty, you can wipe it out with the napkin and then fold it to a different part of the napkin, and then just when it gets super dirty, throw it away. Thank you for being here this week with me. Hope to see you again next time.